and organizational goal systems. For many years, he managed diverse operations and sales for his own company, and he grew it to an over $6 million enterprise with multiple sales and administrative people. He is a part-time sales manager for several small organizations, but he also sold over $60 million worth of products and services in his career. He is a certified SCORE counselor. So please welcome Richard Lewine, and he's going to talk about how to succeed at sales with sustainable success. How many S's is in this thing for B2B sales? Take it away, Richard.
Thank you, Susan.
Please record Jeannie.
I did.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, guys. This is a funny time, funny, not in the hysterical way. It's a difficult time for all of us, and getting started or getting back is going to be really important. We have to continue to do what we do. Can you all see my screen here now? Somebody? Yes? Good. We have to continue to do what we do because we have to make a living whether we have coronavirus around or we don't. And most of us are in the business-to-business arena. And even when we're not, the fundamentals of asking someone or helping someone decide to buy from us so that we can feed our families and pay our rent and fill out applications for PPP or EIDL. We need to have some people help us do that. So it's interesting that my gig with the next level turned out to be at this time. Most of us have to deal with a process sale. You know, when you're selling a house or a building, it's a process. The first look is not necessarily the one. Now, what you have to do is be sensitive to the people's attitudes toward COVID, how they want to deal. Do they want to be near you? Do they want to do it all online? And the buy that they're trying to make, is it for immediate return or are they thinking about the future? This is stuff that we haven't had to necessarily think about in the same terms till now. But regardless of any of that, there's three primary key result areas that we have to be concerned with when we're doing B2B sales. Primarily, that's what I'm focused on. You've got to find your prospects. You've got to talk with your prospects and find out what they really want. And then you have to convert your prospects. It's a three-step process. By the way, we don't have to wait to the end. If you have questions, put them into chat and somebody will watch the chat and we'll pick up those questions. Here's one of the things about B2B sales. People, you're not standing behind a counter and someone comes in and wants to buy a diamond ring. They know they want to buy a diamond ring or a computer or whatever it is. They came into you knowing that they want to buy that. That's not how it works in B2B. It's a numbers game. And if you get 100 leads and you work to qualify them, you may end up with 20. They're still suspects at this point. And work through qualifying them, you'll end up with 5 people who really may want what you have. And if you do that right, you'll end up with a sale. And the issue with that is, what is a lead? A lead really, you know, if I were in a room with you, we would have interaction here. We can't do that too well with 25 people online. A lead is a name. That's all it is. You don't know anything about them. So in our field, what we have to do is get the attention of the people that we believe want what we have. Make sure that they really do want or need. What is their pain point? What problem are we trying to solve? Get this relationship going, develop rapport, and make sure that we're headed in the direction that the client or the prospect wants us to go. And here's how it works in the big Gestalt picture. You get all of these leads, whether it's from websites or from lists or referrals, it doesn't matter. They get into this funnel. and they get shaken around, and you try and figure out through qualification how to approach them and build some kind of agreement so that you get a sale popping out the bottom of the funnel. You know, it looks easy here. All of us who are in this field know that this is anything but easy. But we keep on doing it. Why do we keep on doing it? Ruthie, unmute yourself. Why do you keep doing what you're doing?
Because I enjoy it for one thing, but it generates income. And so I keep doing it.
Right. And let's say, Jonathan, why do you keep doing it?
I think generate income and to help people. I mean, really, primary objective is to see what you can do to help people so that, in my case, when they really do retire, they've got money put away and it lasts for the rest of their life.
So it's a two-pronged approach.
Yeah.
Help somebody else to help yourself.
Yeah.
And what is the real driver there?
Well,
Which
you're helping yourself. I mean, one of the key things is how do you help somebody resolve a problem that they have that they don't want?
Interesting. I don't know anyone who wants the problems.
Right.
Although we like our clients to have problems because then we can help them. And that's how we satisfy our need. So here's a question. I don't know if you can read all of these things, but over the years, what I've experienced, because I'm not selling a product, I'm really selling, like Revlon. What does Revlon sell?
Cosmetics.
Well, think about that. Revlon.
They sell beauty.
Yep. And what is all of that about?
Feeling good about yourself.
They sell hope. That's what they say. They sell hope. There is always hope. And the cosmetics, the lipstick, whatever it may be, help someone continue to have hope that they're going to get connected to someone that's going to help fulfill them. So one of the things that we need to have in a field where we are alone most of the time in B2B, because no one's walking into us for the most part, we have to have belief. We have to have belief in what we're selling, whether it's a product or a service. We have to have belief in ourselves and that we can, in fact, help somebody get what they want so that they feel better, do better, become what they want to become, depending on what it is we're trying to do. So what I found over the years is that there are two things that create sales problems or low sales, if you look on the left side of this. One of them is low belief, low self-image, not really sure you can do it. And the other is, I can do it, but I'm not sure the product or service I have is the right one. And those two things really are an issue for people in this field, because if you're not up to it, don't make the phone call, because your attitude is going to come right through that phone. Be really careful about that. And I know that a lot of the people on this call are pros, and you already know this, but we all need reminders. Believe in yourself. And we also sell hope, because our systems and our methods and our processes provide people with tools to help them become more of what they want to become. That's really what it's about. It's not make more money necessarily. It's what do you want to be doing? Who are you? Who do you want to be? And one of the things that you need to do is every day do the same thing, make the calls, get appointments, present your house, present your tools, present your product, present your credit card system or your financial planning. You have to get in front of somebody. If you're not in front of somebody, what are the chances of selling anything? Next to nothing. That was the right answer. I heard nothing, and that was the right answer. And this progress indicator, this tracking your activity, is critical. It's critical in any kind of sales situation. But when you're in the B2B sales, or you're the person going out after it, no one's walking into you, you need to know how you're doing in your activity so you can adjust. The top part of this form is the activity, and if you don't do that, nothing happens in the bottom part of the form. The bottom part of the form is the dollar signs. So it's up to you to make sure that you do make your attempts and you talk to the right people and you get your appointments and do all the things you know you need to do. But the question is, are you doing it? And you're the only one that can answer that. Wait, let me come back here for a minute. Okay. So here we are. You have all those leads in that funnel. There's 3 levels of prospects. You've got people you don't know and never heard of. I was on a webinar yesterday from someone who's a specialist in inbound marketing, which is a blessing. That means you don't pick up the phone unless it rings, because all the work you've done gets people to know that they want what you have. So the only question is, can they afford it? And is this the right time? So they're calling you for an appointment as opposed to you calling them to try and get them to give you the time to convince them to do what you want them to do. Inbound and outbound really are different in that respect. It was an interesting call. Anyhow, the lowest level in the lead or the prospect is the cold call. You have to go out and do that. Then you have the well-qualified prospect where you've done all, they've got the need, that you found out that they're in the right business, they have money, they want to make some changes. And then the self-qualified prospect is the one that they did come to you because they met you at a trade show or they saw an ad or responded to a Facebook or some other thing. So here's the cold call deal. Inherently, it's much lower priority. I don't know if anybody here is still making cold calls. If you, no, I can only see some heads. Ruthie's shaking her head. No way. I'm not doing that. Jonathan? Yes?
Yeah, I am doing some, not a lot. It's one of those things, nothing ventured, nothing gained. So I am still doing some.
Okay. So when you're doing it and you're talking to someone, whether it's a cold call or otherwise, this red in here, considering what's going on, not everybody, as we witness here, is comfortable yet with online conferencing, whether it's Zoom or GoToMeeting or Hangouts or 8x8. There's a dozen of these that are good ones.
Yeah.
You need to make sure that they're going to be okay. And if you're going to use visuals to support your position, like whether it be a presentation or just some stuff that you put up on the screen, get permission, because some people are intimidated by that. So you need to say, is it okay? And when you're making the call, be ready. This is basic stuff. And by the way, anyone who wants this slide deck, I'm happy to send it to them if they want it. So the well-qualified prospect, they have a budget. You've already submitted some kind of proposal or a quote. The decision makers. They're going to be ready to make a decision in 30 days. That's really a well-qualified person that you want to pursue. And then you have this prospect who came to you and said, listen, I saw this piece you put out on Facebook and on LinkedIn. I really want to get some of that. So give me an appointment so we can talk about how I can get a piece of whatever it is you're offering. Maybe they responded to an email or your website. You saw them at a trade show. How many of you get these kind of prospects on a regular basis? Ruthie, thank goodness for Ruthie Brooks. And I can't see anybody else. So if you're raising your hand, say, I'm raising my hand or something. This is after a period of time.
Me, I get people that way sometimes.
Nicole.
Yes.
Is that you? Okay. Wanted to make sure I knew who it was. I love your Aurora Borealis in the background. That's beautiful.
More interesting than my exercise bikes. So.
Yeah. That's true. That's true. We've seen a lot of bikes, but not too many Borealis.
Me too, Richard.
Rosanna.
Yeah.
And how long did it take for them to really start calling you?
You have to build trust, and trust takes a while.
How long did that take? where it was happening on a fairly regular basis? Was it
And
in a
now,
year?
yes, but it takes a couple of years.
A couple of years.
Yeah, it doesn't happen overnight.
I agree.
Oh, it does not
Absolutely.
happen overnight.
No, not at
It's
all.
interesting that, well, we're going to get to that rapport and trust and what it takes and how long pretty soon.
Yeah.
So if you're making a call, make sure you've done your homework. This is really critical, because if you make a call and you think you're calling Fred and you're really talking Frida, you're going to be in trouble to start. So make sure you know who you're talking to, which means you have to do your homework and you have to keep records. And I use this wonderful tool over here, paper and pencil. I love it. It never runs out of ink, and it doesn't run out of batteries, and it doesn't need the internet. So if Comcast does its normal thing and goes away, I'm still okay. Anyhow, make sure you've done your homework, your due diligence, and your best, what are they likely to do? You have no guarantees. There's very few of those. Make sure you have your questions set on this phone call where you're setting up an appointment. Make sure you know what you're going to ask, and don't ask a question to which you do not want to hear the answer. Be really careful about that. Make sure you want to hear a no, because that's better than nothing, because it'll lead you to the next yes. But you need to be prepared for that. And in this call where you're trying to get an appointment, don't sell anything except the appointment, because you'll step on your own tail. Just get the appointment, because you'll have plenty of time. You want the appointment so you can have a discussion with this person. You can find out what they really want. Are they buying what they want or what they need? Anybody?
Usually what they need. I mean,
Really?
well, I think it's a combination of the two, and I think it depends on what it is you're selling. Some things, like in my end, on my end, it's more you're selling what they need. Most people don't call and say, "Hey, I need this kind of insurance or this particular plan." So it's a little bit different, I think. But
I think it's what they want.
And what is your job? Since they called you or gave you the appointment because they want to buy what they want, what is your job?
Find out what they want and see if I've got it.
Yeah.
And in Jonathan, in your case, what
Same
will
thing.
you?
The same thing on mine. You find out, well, what they want or what they're looking to do, and therefore what do they need.
Okay, so
and then you educate them on what their options are.
Okay, so you'll end up helping them buy what they need to get what they want on the other end.
Yes.
So it's a dance.
Yeah, very much so.
It is a dance. And people who are not in our field of B2B, selling a house today or a condo or a boat is a B2B sale. It's big. It's a big sale. It's really the numbers that make a difference frequently.
So Richard, can I stop you for a moment? Because I did have my hand up. I wanted to make a comment back. One of the things that I found out in the chamber, people are trying to sell you instead of trying to build a relationship. Ruthie has gone through some of those experiences. New people need to understand this is about building relationships, not making a sale. And they're coming in with the wrong attitude. And so I noticed that with that, and I don't know if there's something we can do to help them better understand that, but that's why I think a lot of people don't renew back with the chamber, because they didn't understand what it was that they should be getting by participating in the chamber. And I know you'll talk about that a little bit more, Richard, but I just wanted to comment on that because you had indicated about being a go-to. That's what I try to do when I'm in the chamber. I'm trying to be that go-to. I don't have every product, but I know who sells real estate. I know who does training. I know who does insurance. So when that person comes, I can sit down and say, no, I don't do that, but I know somebody who does. So it builds instant credibility as the go-to person, which makes that relationship stronger.
Thank you, David.
Richard, we do that with the originals. That's what we built the originals on. So we all believe that too.
Uh-huh, absolutely. It is about the relationship. So here we are. We're at the appointment. And what you've got now is a process that is the critical moment in time that can be 1 visit, 2 visits, 5 visits, 10 visits, depending on the business. And this is an overview of the whole thing. And I'm going to break it down because you have to be able to visualize traffic lights, because if you run a red light on the street, what's going to happen to you?
One of my many tickets.
Yeah, that's the least that can happen. You could get in an accident. Well, it's bad enough. Tickets, accidents, it's going to be a problem if you run a red light. The same is true in this process. When you've already got the appointment, you're there, and you've begun the process by developing rapport. Well, actually, let's break it down. What's the goal here in that first session? I don't know if you can read it. It says, establish credibility and belief in you. Show a generous and sincere interest in your prospect and project confidence with humility. That means don't come off arrogantly. It's the same on the phone call. Don't make the call if you're not feeling confident or if you're feeling like you have all the answers. Both of those will come through, and that'll be a problem. The second part is determine what the prospect needs and wants and why. And really what we're saying here is in that first 2 sections, the red light you run is if you can sense that they're rushed or they're not concentrating, you're not feeling relaxed, they're not feeling relaxed, get out. You're not doing anything but creating a problem for yourself. The prospect doesn't care. You'll leave, you'll leave. Well, I mean, there are exceptions to that, of course. But if you sense it's not right, if they stopped answering questions or they're starting to turn it around before you're ready, it's time to reschedule. You can continue to the fact finding if you've developed a real relaxed, a rapport, and I like rapprochement. It's got to be really solid. Then you can go and start asking questions that are getting to the need as opposed to the reason they say they gave you the appointment, which is their want. They want security when they retire. Well, that's a nice want, but what do they need that they can get from you, Jonathan, in order to have security when they retire, which is what they want? That's why I asked the question. You got to find out what they need and then deliver what they want and then deliver what they need so they can get what they want. So the second part, let me come back here. I have to rejigger this. Coming back a little, okay. After you've developed the rapport and you've got them, by the way, how many of you have done a decent job of developing rapport? Everybody's comfortable. It took longer than you thought and longer than the prospect wants to spend with you. And you've just begun to find out this fact finding, to identify, but you can't get through it. What are you going to do here?
What's stopping you from getting through it?
Well, you're going to find that out, but you found out that it's out of time. Now what?
Either you schedule another meeting.
Yes, it's simple. If you have truly established rapport, if this person is beginning to share with you and open up, if they have established Rosanna's word, if you have established Rosanna's trust, and you say, you know what, this is really important stuff. I think we need to reschedule so that you're not rushed. Your phone is ringing. People are knocking on the door here. You have things to do. Can we reschedule for next week, Tuesday or Thursday in the morning? What's that person going to say if you've established rapport and trust?
I'll say yes.
You bet.
Yeah.
That's why the average B2B sale takes 5 calls.
Something that I will say.
Louder.
Something that I will say is also setting expectations. So you have your first meeting, you build a rapport, you start to build that relationship. You find out a little bit about what that person is looking for. Personally, I always tell people that if they're going to do a second meeting, I set the parameters. I say, here's what I need from you. It's going to take an hour and a half. You know, you set that up in the first meeting.
Exactly. That's my point. You need to be willing to move to the next level based on what's going on with you and your prospect. And what you do is you go away while you've asked them to prepare, and it's going to take an hour and a half. You have some fundamental information now. And Jonathan, you stepped in. You're it. I'm picking on you today.
All right.
You have to be prepared for what you've asked them to prepare for so that you can respond appropriately. And
I set people up if part of I do it as a 3-meeting process, Richard.
Yep.
The first one is to talk to somebody to get to know them a little bit, find out what they're looking, educate them a little bit. And in the end, to find out really the answer to 2 key questions, which is, can I help them do what they want to do? And the second piece of that is, do they want my help?
Right.
Assuming that the answer to both of those is yes, because that's the only way that it works, then I set the expectations for the second meeting, where it is going to be, how long it's going to take, and I send them a documents list and prepare them for a fact find.
Okay. So we're going through the process of preparing for the real meeting where you're going to find out. And in many cases, how many houses, how many showings does it take to really find out sometimes what that prospect wants to live in? It can be, they can kid themselves and try and kid you, but I don't think Ruthie gets kidded very much anymore.
I've learned if you ask an awful lot of questions up front, the more questions you ask, the more you can find out why. Because I have had one couple I was showing $1 million houses to, but in the end, I found out what they were really looking for was a home for the boat, not them. They ended up buying a townhouse that had a dock. So, but you've got to ask enough questions.
You do. And then you go away and you figure out, in your case, which listings do I have to show them next time I'm with them? And in Jonathan's case, okay, they brought all their stuff. In my case, I have to find out, is that guy really making the decision by himself? Or are there 3 other people who have to be in that next meeting? Because if you don't get with the decision maker, you are screwed. There's no other way to say it, because you're just going to be wasting your time and that person's time because they didn't want to tell you. And that may be because they have an ego problem and they think they have to be the boss. So there's all kinds of stuff we're dealing with here. Okay, I'm going to come back and then get out of this one. One more, coming back. One more. This really needs to be redone, Richard. Okay, here we are. You're planning to see them the next time. You're planning what you're going to do based on the information they gave you. And there's something in here called programming calls. Now I'm talking B2B more than I am one-on-one or house sales. But if you're really selling to a business and there's an economic decision maker, then between your visits, there's an important call that you can make. We call it a programming call. In the first, after you've left, after your mini fact finding, and you're going to go away and based on that information plan your next visit, which is going to include a lot more questions, you can make a call and ask that person some questions, or you could get really lucky. Your initial contact, who claims to be the decision maker, and maybe he or she isn't there and not available. What an incredible opportunity to do something. What might that be?
For the next person within that organization.
And?
Get more information.
And?
Resell?
Well, okay. Maybe different.
Now, who is the decision maker?
Yeah, find out if that guy, girl, really can make the decision on their own.
Yes, yes.
In addition, you're going to be talking to a gatekeeper, probably.
Yes.
Who will tell you whatever you want if you're nice to him or her. And you don't even have to take flowers or binoculars or anything to this person. Just treat them well, because most people don't. And you can get tons of information. And if it happens to be manufacturing or distribution, or it's high tech, or it's chemicals or some other thing, you may even get to an engineer. Oh, Fred's not in. Let me talk to Sarah. She's the head engineer, right? Yeah. Let's see if she has a few minutes to chat with me. You get to Sarah and you find out what this guy is asking for, this decision maker, is not going to help Sarah at all. So you got a couple of opportunities here, and you'll, based on what you've established, you'll figure out, do you want Sarah to come into the meeting or talk to the boss before you get there again? Or do you want to carry some information, or can you get permission from Sarah to do so? All kinds of opportunities by a programming call. Find out what's going on in that organization. Or if Ruthie is talking to the female side of a couple that happens to be heterogeneous, and you can't make assumptions at this today anymore, and she's saying, I want this, this, and this, and then when you call back to reschedule, you get the male side. Well, I don't know about you guys, but men and women look at things different planets. You're going to get an opportunity to talk to the other person who's going to live in that place. And that can help you on that next visit. And you'd have to share and let people know that this is going on. You got to talk about transparency. B2B sales requires 100% transparency. Because you're going to get caught if you try to hide anything. Don't do it. It's just not worth it. Okay, I'm going to move on from here to the next one and the next one.
Richard?
Yes. Paul,
I love
we're
the
hearing from the
transparency.
Midwest.
The transparency comment.
Yes.
What happens when you are totally transparent? You can cause the customer to become totally transparent. And when the customer is totally transparent, you avoid those difficulties you're talking about of who the real decision maker is, engagement of the spouse, etc. And being, I don't want to say overly transparent, but it's very crystal clear in their mind that the salesperson is so transparent, they feel guilty about trying to mislead you.
Great. I love making the prospect feel guilty. It's like a mother making a kid feel guilty. She'll get what she wants. That's wonderful. Thank you, Paul, for that. We had to import this guy to bring that information to us. Interesting. Anyhow, the last step is to get the decision. And if you are running into an issue when it's time to get the decision, which is asking for the order, getting the deposit, getting a purchase order, and you're having a problem, what did you do somewhere?
Didn't find out who was really making the decision.
You ran a red light. Somewhere you ran a red light. You didn't proceed with caution. You didn't ask one more question. You made an assumption, whatever it was, and it could have been way back in step one, developing rapport, where you didn't ask, Esther, is there anyone else who ought to be in this meeting? Is this your decision all on your own? I mean, or is that your position in the organization? Well, you know, if it's over X number of dollars, I'm going to have to check with, or if it's outside of buying actual equipment and you're talking about people, I'm going to have to check with HR or whatever it is they may say. So that red light could have been in the first one, the second, the third, or the fourth. So that's why you need to qualify all the way along through the process. Okay, here we are. And this is what it's about. Telling ain't selling, asking is. Rosanna, you said ask questions. Jonathan, you said ask questions. Ruthie, you said ask questions. Everybody really knows. We know in here we're supposed to ask questions, and we have to check ourselves and make sure we're doing it. Because if it seems to be going along real smoothly, we may back down from the questioning and end up here with some objections which are coming out of stalls. We all know that. But if someone says, you know what, I'm not sure that this is right. Oh, well, tell me about that. If you can get them to tell you, you can do something about it. If you don't ask the question of what's going on, why is it a problem? Is it a question of price, a capability on your part or our part? Are you not the decision maker? Is the timing bad? What's going on? Do you need more explanation of how the system will work? Do you need to know who the management company is that handles this condo? What is it you need to know that can help us move to the next step? Because you need to find out, is it real or is it a perception? If it's real, you can do something. If it's a perception, you can do something, but it's different. What can you do if it's just a perception on the prospect's part?
Probably have to start building rapport again. Go back to the beginning.
Something didn't come through. They're not sure. They've developed this attitude toward whatever it is that they're bringing out on the table that, you know, you're not real. It doesn't look to me like Ballastry can do this. Oh my God. Can't be. So why do you have that perception about it? Well, I spoke to Meyer and they said, I'm sorry to set you guys up, but why not? They said that there's no way that this can sell for that kind of price and be okay. Really? Tell me about that. Give me some more information about that. I have my Louisville Slugger in the car. I'm going over and see Rosanna.
We'll fight it out.
That's right. So this is the place to find out if it can be a deal shaper, actually. You can ask the questions that can make it actually turn into, wow, I'm glad you asked, because here's the real deal. That dock was just rebuilt. Even though it doesn't look good, it's just a paint issue. Oh, gee, let me go look at that again. And they'll go over and actually check it out instead of just look at the paint that got scraped off. Different. You got to find out what the real deal is and address that issue and convert I want to think about it, or somebody said X, into something that you can deal with. So here you are. You're at the place where you want to get an agreement. You got to know your goals, their goals. What will you negotiate? What won't you? You have to develop some kind of situation where you can walk away feeling good whether you make the sale or you don't. Not always easy to do. So if we think about it from the position of, I'm going to feel good coming out of here regardless of the outcome, what does that set you up with?
Sets you up with confidence.
Yeah.
And go find for the next one.
Yeah.
That's what I do.
Next.
One door closed,
Next.
the other one's gonna open.
We know.
Oh, yes.
It lets you sell from desire to help as sell from need.
Yeah.
And I know you guys have been around long enough. You're not selling from need. So this is addressing other people's situations, generally speaking. But it does get to us. I mean, in this time right now, we could develop oh my God, what am I going to do here? I can't get in front of anybody. Well, yes, you can. Here we are. And you're confident that you can do it. LMI, Leadership Management, has developed, I had problems with them over the years, not doing institutional work, not really building images and all of that good stuff. They stepped up for COVID, created an online sales presentation that we, the people in the field, can modify to our needs. That is dynamite. It's absolutely incredible. So there is always a way to get done if you're confident if you have belief in yourself. We're back to that sales problems. If you have belief in yourself belief in the product or service, then you'll use whatever medium it is that's required to get your job done. And the job may be, in this particular case, was to educate the prospect, not sell them. They didn't really want it. They didn't really need it. They really can't afford it. They're really not ready to move from their house to an assisted living. Whatever it is, your job was to help them see that. And you'll feel good and be able to walk away and go, as Rosanna said, or go on to the next one. That's just what it's about. So getting agreement doesn't mean getting agreement signed on the dotted line, here's your deposit necessarily, even though that's what we want. It's getting agreement that this was a good meeting, you're someone I'm glad I met, and we've helped each other in some way. So in order to keep the agreement on the sales side, ask for the order. How many people do we know that do everything to that point and they don't ask for the order? And the prospect's saying, how come he left without asking for the business? Everything was right. I would have given him the business. I would have bought the house. I would have, I would have made the deal with Jonathan, even though he took 5 times instead of 3. I'm sure Jonathan asked for the order, though. You have to ask for the business, and there's all kinds of ways. Rosanna, how do you ask for the deal?
At the end of my, I guess, interview, because it is a job interview,
right?
In our case.
Yeah.
If everything went according to our schedule, my paperwork is already with me. So I say, here is the listing present. This is the listing agreement. We would like to go over with it and, price range and all that stuff, and get signed right there. Don't waste any time.
Okay, Salik. I flip down so I can see people, different people. John, what do you do?
Most of my contacts are really, especially lately, are not face-to-face. So it's a conversation with someone, discuss their situation. This is how I can help you. And then it's an email them an application. And my closing question on the phone is, hey, to get started, I need your email to send you an application with the pricing. So the initial closing question is, yes, they provide an email. Obviously, if they're not going to provide an email, it doesn't go any further. But they provide the email. I then send them the application with the pricing and whatnot. And then, of course, it's wrangling to get them to fill it out and get it back.
But it's an easy close, as it were. All I need is your email.
Pretty soft, yeah, pretty soft.
Yeah, it's soft. It's nonchalant. It's not like you're busting their chops.
I mean, also with me, it's easy too, because when you buy from me, you're not writing a check. Usually there's no money out of pocket. There's no check unless you're buying a terminal. But usually it's just, okay, shuffle some paperwork.
Well, yes. However, they've been with the current provider for some period of time, good, bad, or indifferent. It's the devil they know. So it's not necessarily that easy.
No, I agree. I mean, my biggest competition, and I say that kind of tongue in cheek, is their local bank, whoever they're banking with. Because their bank sells them on, oh, we have a relationship, everything, you come in here, we handle everything. And that's really a lot of BS, because as soon as they have a problem with their merchant account and they go to their local bank, they're like, oh, you got to talk to so-and-so. I don't deal with that. You want a cup of coffee? No, I don't want a cup of coffee. I want to solve my problem. And they find that out usually after the fact.
Right. But until then, so you do have work to do. It's not really just duck soup.
Oh, no, without a doubt. It's always work. I mean, I just actually signed someone up today who had a merchant account. Is a fairly sizable business, and he had identity theft. Someone stole his identity, opened a merchant account in his name, caused a lot of fraud, got him to be what's called in the TMF, the terminated merchant file. His merchant account shut him down because they considered him to be a bad guy, and he was using Square. And I got with him, and I'm like, listen, I can get you a real merchant account. All you got to do is get a police report. Well, it took him over a month just to get a police report.
Wow. Lance, how about you?
Well, since most of my business is service related, so anything with computer repair, et cetera, they're bringing the product in or I'm going there. So there's not kind of a selling thing with that. But now as I do more cloud services uh, and business phone systems, this is going to be more, particularly with the business phone systems, of a selling process,
Yeah.
particularly where I don't know somebody really well and they haven't just, I know them through the chamber and they've come to me and said, hey, tell me more about the business phone systems. I'm going to have to do more of that prospecting that you mentioned, Richard.
Yeah.
And I haven't got to that point yet. So a lot of this is so old for me in the sense that I've forgotten all these things. I see Ruthie's shaking her head smiling, because when you were talking about getting to the decision maker, I remember from 35 or 40 years ago spending significant time. Used to be in the scientific equipment business. The products are like $20,000, $40,000, $50,000.
Right.
So a lot of times companies would put I'm not thinking of the right word, you'll know this, kind of a bozo in place to gather the information. He would tell you the decision maker, but he wasn't. And I spent all this time and I found out that the person wasn't the decision maker.
Yeah.
So as I move through this, I'm going to have to learn a lot, and hopefully I'm learning a lot.
Happy to help. Okay.
Richard, on that same line, have you found social media to be a good way to find your connectors, or at least the decision makers? I do a lot of social media on LinkedIn and find out a lot of my best players are the CEOs in that space. I link in with them and they get me an appointment that way. Do you find that social media could be a good way to do that for cold calling?
Social media works. It's a whole other discussion.
Okay, not a problem.
B2B, it depends on whether you are accustomed to and are okay with outbound, where you're going to continue to make the calls and try and get it, or you would like to convert and transition. It's not really convert, it's transition to a situation where people know what you do and what you have and the quality of it, how long it takes, general price ranges, what the outcomes are, and they start calling you. So LinkedIn is probably the best of all of them for B2B. That's why I put stuff out every day. And I've made some good connections. That's how I got Florida Makes to call me, and we're now set up and doing business. So it works, but it takes a long time. But yes is the answer. The short answer is yes. So you're at the place, you ask for the order, however you do that. Sign here, press hard, third copy is yours. Who do I see for the check? And that's what I have done, not recently. Actually, it's a long time. I was still in Philly when I was saying it quite that way. That's 20 years ago. Ask for the order, get a commitment, determine who else is involved when the sale is made, because you got to get a PO, a deposit, something. And then you're at the place where you're growing the account, which is the whole purpose of this, is to have something that works. So we're getting down to the closing time. Here's the 3 levels. You got a lead, you got a prospect. Your chances of probability, they keep increasing as you spend time. It's less than 5% if all you have is a lead. It's nothing. If you begin to qualify the prospect, you know they have a need, so it's 10 to 25%. You've done a real analysis and you know there's money, you know who the competition is, you're up to almost 50%. You've submitted a proposal, or whether it's a paper proposal or you've spoken and you've shaken hands, well, you can't do that anymore, but you've rubbed elbows or kicked feet. You're up to close to 75%. And then you're at the buy, you got a 75 to 90% chance. If that doesn't happen, you ran 18 red lights and there's only 5 to run. So you got to go back all over again and talk to somebody else in that organization, because that person's not going to talk to you or tell you the truth. That's the situation that's been created. Now, obviously, it's 100% if you have the signed contract or PO, which is where you want to get to. Then you have what you have to do is track. It's it's critically important that you know where you are, first call, last call, probability, and I'm going to move quickly through this. You have to compare your pipeline values. In this case, it's worth $49,000. This is all made up stuff from the year 2012, as you can see. How did you get to that rating? You need to talk to other people, get other input. What do you think it's worth based on where we are now in the process from listing to sale? Where are we? Give me some input there. What do we need to do to make this thing happen? Talk to other people. Whoop. I love pencil and paper. If we're small business, don't get caught up in CRMs. They will just eat your time. Filling in data. You can do it with a pencil and paper right here, or a spreadsheet if you want a spreadsheet, but don't get caught up in all of this other technology if you don't need it. If you're managing a workforce, a sales force, yes. But if it's you, another person, 2 people, 3 people, pencil and paper works like a dream, because you sit down and you look at this and say, well, nothing goes on a pipeline, by the way, until you've met with the person, whether it's online or personal. Then their name goes in, what you're trying to sell, and what you estimated at the first meeting. This is C is the first meeting. I thought it was 10,000. After you had a good meeting, it went up to 20,000. Then when you came to close the deal, it ended up being 5,000. Or the numbers could go the other way. And you have each, as the time goes by, your percentage of chance of closing changes. And then it's either a sale or a loss, and you have to do it. You have to be willing to see zeros. That's the point here. You've got to be willing to see zeros. It's hard. Doesn't that look like Jack Kennedy? Those of you who are old enough.
Richard?
Yes.
Go back to that slide before. I have to tell you, when I was doing consulting work for franchisees,
yep,
a lot of their stuff was on the computer. A lot of their, goals and everything else were there. But the minute that they took it to an actual physical copy that they put up in their office and people could actually see,
yep,
that was the only time that things turned around, was when everybody got on board and understood where the goals were, what they had to do to get to it, and how things were progressing.
Exactly. Everybody needs to know. Talk about transparency. If it's sitting in your computer, that's worse than a loose leaf binder sitting on the shelf. At least the binder, anyone can go get it, take it down, look at the piece of paper. If it's in your computer, that's it, done. It's gone. Thank you for that, Susan. Sharing and everybody knowing is really key. And that's my story. If you have to sell, you have to sell yourself. I'm not going to read this to you. Have passion, keep positive, and you will be okay. How to succeed. That's what it's all about. I'm going to end the show, and I'm going to put this in slide sorter. So if you want to key in on something, we have just a couple minutes left here. I don't want to keep people longer than they're supposed to be here. If any one of these is of particular interest, tell me about it. I'll click on it and we can talk about it for a couple of minutes.
Richard.
Yes.
I want to thank you. I thought it was an excellent presentation. I'm going to give a sales pitch for you.
Thank you.
I've known Richard for years, and you guys are fortunate to have him in your chamber group. Frankly, he bought his franchise about 2 years before I had mine. And he, for 33 years, has been the person that I've called for this kind of advice, this kind of focus.
10 years before you.
It's 10 years before me, but it's physician, heal thyself. And I'm looking in the mirror trying to figure out how to fix my own business or whatever. And out of a clear blue sky, I'd call Richard. He'd say, Henling, haven't heard from you in a while. And he's given me guidance. So I'm real happy for you folks that you've got him right there in your neighborhood, and I look forward to being down in Florida. Thank you very much for allowing me to join your
Thanks
meeting.
for coming, Paul. Appreciate it. Anyone else have anything they want to do? If not, I thank you all for your time, your attention, and all of that good stuff. And I'm going to just come back over here and close this down.
I do need to make an announcement. Cassandra has been sending stuff up to the chat that if you didn't receive contact information to get onto the call today, please be sure to jump onto the phone or email or text and get to Cassandra. She wants to make sure everybody has the information. Thank you, Ruthie, for jumping in and helping me out with introducing people, because I was busy shooting contact information for the call to people while all of this was going on at the beginning.
Yeah, and me as well, Susan. Yeah, we were trying to get as many folks on as we could.
I'm going to put my email and phone in the chat. If anyone wants the slide deck, I'm happy to send it to them.
Yeah, actually, Richard, I'm trying to put together, it's got to work through the YouTube, the recordings of all of these with the slide deck. So that would be great if we could put that on the chamber website, which is where we'd like to get it.
Okay, well, I'm going to put it in here for other folks as well. Do I want to have to?
And Richard, you could probably stop sharing your email with us now.
Oh, what a good idea. So let's see, what should I do? How about my calendar?
Or you could just stop sharing your screen.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
That was kind of what I meant.
Thank you. That's what I wanted to do in the first place.
Thank you, everybody, for coming on board today. It was really great to see everybody and to find out what everybody's doing. Like we said, we have our next series is next Tuesday with Lance, and we'll be sending out that information. Please sign up for that immediately, right after this. Go on the Chamber website and click to register. And as always, since we are working a lot more remotely, why not take this a step further and share this on your Facebook page? If they're not a chamber member, it's only $29 to join the call.
They can share the event, Susan. We have them listed as events on the chamber's Facebook page, so you can just share the event into your own Facebook networks, please.
That's how I got Paul.
Thanks, Nicole. But we want to get as many people on the call as possible. And there's a lot of small business owners that are just struggling right now and just don't know what to do. And this is a great way to help amp up your business and get positive and motivated to do the things you need to do. And we are going to have a session on next steps for creating a plan for reopening and getting that going on. And it's going to be some really easy steps that's going to blow you away. So thank you, everybody, for coming on board. I'm going to be talking to Alfredo and Jonathan in a little bit. So I look forward to speaking with you guys. Thank you.
Yeah, and just anyone who's interested, next Thursday morning, the nonprofit group is meeting, and we have a program, The Power of Positive Thinking. So that's being run. And again, as a vertical industry group, that is open to anyone. So if you're interested, please feel free to register for that. And we look forward to Lance's on next Tuesday. Yay. Susan, great job. Thank you.
Terrific. Thank you, Susan.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
See the originals in the morning.
Yep, we'll be there.